All right, that's it for the fun and games here. Um, let's see. I'm gonna turn this on. Can you throw this on your lapel? And let's get to the reason why you guys are all here. Your presenter for the night, Philip Mandel, I called him a couple months ago and I said, Phil, we need to help our instrument-rated pilots. The last few major accidents we've had here have been during IMC. Pilots getting a little overwhelmed, and we need you to come fix it in like 1 hour, tops. So Philip Mandel was gracious enough to come back out. He's actually doing a double header because he's going to be here tomorrow morning to host the AOPA Rusty Pilot Seminar at 9 o'clock in the morning. Y'all are welcome to join that as well. He flew his own aircraft out here all the way from the Portland, Oregon area. So without further ado, please make some noise for your headliner, Philip Mandel.
Hey. Thank you, David. How's the sound? Are we zooming the way we're supposed to?
Thank you.
And what I want to know is how do we get pizza to the people that are on Zoom? I'm trying to figure that out. Am I projecting well enough for my fellow hard of hearing people with hearing devices and stuff like that? If I fade, please let me know. Get my attention visually. I'm extremely hard of hearing, and I also can't locate sound. So if you say, hey, Phil, I think it's behind. I don't know where you are. So just do something visual so I can focus in and take care of what you need. And you promised me a clicker.
Get you your
My
clicker
very own
there.
clicker.
Let me pull this up real quick.
Yeah. Are we on? We are on. Here we got a pointer.
All right, just a second.
Yeah.
Quick question, will this be available after like the slides or
Yeah.
I can definitely.
I've got your presentation, and I'm going to upload it to our website, the Truckee Airport Fly Safe page. There'll be a recording of this video even that'll also go up there on our YouTube channel and the website.
Yeah, so the best one for David to share will be a PDF because PowerPoints don't work the same on all machines. So he's got that. I'm happy to have you.
And also for the folks that are on Zoom, the handouts that are here tonight, we just emailed those at about 5 o'clock to everyone that registered for the event. So if you're on Zoom and you registered before 5 o'clock tonight, you'll have those in your inbox already. So try to pull those up and follow along.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need them to follow along, but they're supplemental to what we're doing. So that's great.
Cool. Try clicking left and right a little
Try
bit.
click.
Looking
Yeah, we
good?
click.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Philip Mandel, everybody.
Oh, look out. So who's instrument rated here? Oh, wow. A whole bunch of you. That's fantastic. Who is going to be instrument rated? Everybody else. Good for you. Yeah. It's the most challenging certificate or rating. It's also the most fun. And it's a serious accomplishment when you get that done. But David did mention that, I've got a long list of topics that I can present, at least 20 or 25. And David said, let's do instruments because of the very, very tragic accidents that you had here in the past couple of years. I think one was a TBM Mooney and the other one was a jet, if I remember correctly. Is that right? Yeah. Very, very sad. So I actually don't know what happened with the TBM. I almost remember what happened with the jet, but in any case.
started below minimums?
Started below minimums. Yeah, that's not good. So anyway, this is about the 5 Ps, the 6 Ts, and the 6 Cs, which are really mini checklists to help you stay organized. And I find them very, very useful. And when I'm teaching instrument students, I just tell them that these are the keys to the kingdom. If you do these over and over again at appropriate places, during your flight, they will really, really help you stay on track so you don't go, oh, now I need to call, now I need to do this, and now I need to do that. Much better to keep yourself organized, and as you know, we always need to stay ahead of the airplane, especially on instruments. So a little bit about me. I got those hours and all that stuff, and was honored to be named a distinguished flight instructor by AOPA last year. And Fast Team Rep of the Year a few times for the Portland region. And I'm on my 10th airplane pretty much from top to bottom, and that beautiful T-18 looks like that. No, it looks like that. And we're hiding it in the hangar there because I know you all want to I know you want to admire her. We might have a chance tomorrow after Rusty Pilots. But anyway, she got me here via Weed, California, from the Portland area. I love that little airport. I just don't like the taxiway. The north 1,000 feet of the taxiway is like, it's got gigantic expansion gaps. Oh man, that's rough. So they actually, there's comments, you know, on Facebook, people write comments about the airport, comments about the FBO, and so on. And it says, don't use the north 1,000 feet of the taxiway. There's never any traffic at Weed anyway, just back taxi on the runway. And you don't have to deal with all that. Anyway, my girl lives there at Twin Oaks Air Park, just southwest of Portland, near Hillsborough. And of course, we always have blue skies and sunshine, except like 9 months out of the year. But the rest of the year, we have blue skies and sunshine, except when there's smoke. But the other 10 days, we have blue skies and sunshine. And Twin Oaks is known worldwide because we make, oh, I don't have that slide. Darn it. Oh, I got the wrong slide in here. Shoot, now I have to tell the joke. Where there's a meme that says, we make dreams come true. And there's a girl and a guy she's in the wedding dress and it just looks like a newlywed photo. And there's a Cessna up there. And the arrow said, we make dreams come true. And here's a newly married couple, and the arrow points to the guy up in the Cessna. We make dreams come true. Never mind the couple. I'm sorry, I didn't have that slide. But anyway, how many of y'all went to Oshkosh this year? Oh, not enough. Oh my God, we need to get a caravan going. I did, but not in my Miss Thorpe because of this. Convective signets from start to finish. We had, and the tornado happened 2 days after the close of Oshkosh, fortunately. And anyway, it was just a mess trying to get there. And at Oshkosh, visibility, because of mostly from the Canadian fires, but also some Michigan fires, that smoke pretty much shut down the airport, and it was really pretty dismal. It was very, very low attendance compared to what we usually get. So when I realized I wasn't going to have a good shot at getting there, I let Allegiant Airlines take me to Appleton, and then United Airlines took me back home, so I airlined it. Anyway, so the P's, T's, and C's, so many letters, so many acronyms. So let's see what we can do. I don't know about you, I find that when in some of the training materials, you see, well, here's an acronym to keep you organized, and it'll bing, 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 bing. Here's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, P, 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 P. And then the text just goes on and does something else. But it's like, how do I use this? I'm sure it's a good thing, but like, tell me what it really means. Tell me what to do with it. How does that help me? So the 5 Ps, these are things you're going to do whether you're VFR or IFR, actually. You probably do them already. You just don't have a conscious little bucket to put each thing in. And the order doesn't matter. It's not like you have to do one before the other. You're sort of doing this regularly throughout the flight. And so they look like this. First of all, the Aviation Instructor's Handbook says that it's used to evaluate the pilot's current situation at key decision points, such as pre-flight, pre-takeoff, hourly or midpoint if that's less than an hour, pre-descent, and either just prior to the final approach fix or just before entering the traffic pattern. So it's something you're going to want to do repeatedly to make sure that everything is lined up the way it's supposed to be. And if you grab my handouts or if you got the PDF that David sent out, this is what you'll see. This is I wrote articles for IFR magazine before it went belly up. Moment of silence for IFR magazine. I thought it was the best aviation rag there was. So sad to see it go. But anyway, they published my part 1, which is on the P's, and then it folded before they got to my T's and C's. So that's why the part 2 and part 3 on the handouts and the PDFs aren't magazine quality because they didn't get around to polishing up and editing them. Anyway, so not a bad idea to start with the pilot. I'm safe, PAVE, all your usual checklists to make sure that you're up to snuff. And you want to be smiling like this young fella here. And beyond just physical and mental readiness, are you up to snuff? I don't know what you folks do when you first sit in an airplane to make a flight, but I just sit down in my airplane after a thorough pre-flight and another big walk around to make sure I didn't drop anything or leave the chocks on or something. And I just sit there because I'm about to commit aviation. Truly, we don't belong in the sky. If God had meant for man to fly, he would have given us more money. So clearly we're not meant to fly. And when we get airborne, literally we're just borrowing the sky from the birds, right? They're built for it. They've got brains measured in grams, whereas we have 2 or 3 pounds worth of brains, and they don't need all this training and pre-solo endorsement and FARs and right. They're built with the software and hardware to fly, but we got to fill our brains with all this stuff and then keep it fresh in order to stay safe. We're just borrowing the sky. So I usually just sit there and give myself some time to become one with the airplane before I commit aviation. So are you truly current and proficient? Do you know the airplane well? Do you know the avionics? All this fancy stuff we have now with things talking to things, and it's all magical stuff that can help make us safer. It's also a whole bunch of distractions. And especially getting stuff to talk the way you want it to talk can be a little bit frustrating. So are you alert, well-fed, hydrated, but not too hydrated because then something else has to happen? So maybe that's before the flight. Midway through the flight, how are you feeling? Is the altitude getting to you? The drone, the vibration, sitting there for hour after hour on a long cross country. Just take stock of your physical and mental condition and readiness to continue the flight, and always be ready to cut it short if you're not feeling up to it for some reason. Toward the end of the flight, what Aviation Instructor's Handbook says is just as the most critical portion of flight approaches, the pilot's guard is down the most because we're exhausted from everything that got us there. Aviation is funny, and one of the reasons I do so many safety seminars is because I'm forever perturbed. I don't know if people ask you, is aviation safe? You're going flying. Oh my God! You hear about all these crashes, and I always say, yeah, but you have to drive to and from the airport. We say it as if that's the most dangerous part. It's not. It should be, but it's not. And I'm not going to stop talking safety until aviation is this much safer than driving. And then we'll work on driving. But we need, it's funny. We're up there flying around thousands of feet, sometimes miles and miles from anybody or anything. You can't get hurt in the sky, subject to mid-air collision or severe turbulence or something like that. But we get hurt by the edges of the sky. The upper edge, most of us aren't going to get to. It's this edge down here that hurts us. And we only spent a few minutes of a flight close to this edge of the sky. So, like, isn't it true that if we really, really pay attention, like for all of our takeoffs and all of our landings, we can make so many of these accidents go away and make sure flying is safer than driving? It should be. But what happens is, even if you're doing your best, and I'm assuming you're all great pilots, we still get fatigued. We're human. That's never going to go away. So I just talked to David about it a little while ago. I was at 9,500 feet from Weed, and I had my little pulse ox telling me I'm at like 80%. I'm like, ugh. And for the first time ever, I brought my little boost with me, the little oxygen thing. I'd never done one before. So I had my pulse ox, 80%. I feel a little bit fatigued, but I've been at 12.5 before, and I've been okay. So it's not like, I'm not in immediate danger, but I'm not as sharp as I could be. And I grabbed the little boost, wait a few seconds, and like, boop, 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 up into the 90s. And all of a sudden, it's like, what's the problem? Let's get this thing over with, deal with the turbulence and wind shear on the way down, and land this thing. So we need a way to do that, even whether it's oxygen or just mentally preparing ourselves. When our guard is down the most, it's really, really critical time. So do what you can to re-up your A game, sit up straight, have a sip of water, coffee if you have it with you, get a bite to eat, if you got little snacks with you, and make sure your blood sugar isn't in the tank from sitting there for so long. Yeah, we need you now more than ever, all the way until the airplane is shut down and chucked. So just an example of that, 2 years ago, I ferried a very nice Cherokee 180 from Scappoose, up near where I live, near Portland, to Albuquerque. Beautiful flight to somebody was selling it through a broker there, Lexington, Kentucky. Albuquerque was a different flight. Kentucky. So, I'm from the northern states. I didn't even know where Kentucky was. But I figure if I just take off from Scappoose, fly southeast until I see bluegrass, that ought to be Kentucky. It worked out. So anyway, along the way, nightfall was approaching. This is in February, so when the sun goes down, it goes down fast. And the sun's behind me because I'm going east. So it's just getting dark real quick. And I'm in strange territory in a relatively unfamiliar airplane. I have no intention of flying at night doing ferrying. And so I want to get the airplane on the ground, and I just happen to be approaching Lincoln, Nebraska, which is a really cool little airport, or a cool big airport, actually. It ain't little. And they had me doing something real strange. Remember, the sun's going down. I'm tired at the end of a long day. This is my second leg of the day. Cherokees have long legs. You can go 5-6 hours in a Cherokee and still have an hour reserve. So I'm just ready to call it quits for the day. I'm coming from the west. I'm hoping for a base leg entry to the general aviation runway, but the controller says maintain, I forget, it's like 2,000 feet up. I forget the altitudes. And cross over the middle of the airport and then make right traffic and for the right-hand runway. And that, that's like an extra 10 minutes worth of maneuvering, and the sun is just disappearing second by second. So I really had to keep force myself to stay alert and awake and wondering why all this was happening. So here's what it looked like on a map, and turned all the way around and landed to the north like that. And the airport's real strange. You ever been there, anybody? Lincoln? Yeah, interesting place. So there's this gigantic runway here. for the big boys, and the terminal is over here someplace. And general aviation is over here. It's like a mile. It's pretty far offset to the right. It also starts a mile later than the left-hand runway. So, you know, you really got to be alert and ready and make sure you go for the correct runway, not a taxiway. Don't go for a road that looks like it's where the runway should be. It's like, you got to really pay attention to all this. And night is falling, and I've never been to this place. So, yeah. So they even, some of you have seen these from the flight deck videos that FAA puts out. They're really, really good. Is there one for Truckee? There ought to be, especially with all your noise abatement procedures. I think that would be a good idea. But anyway, I didn't know this in advance. I hadn't planned on landing at Truckee. My planned fuel stop was, or overnight was, another 50 miles to the east. But the sun was going down so fast, I thought, no. So I didn't have enough time to do all this prep. Well, it turns out they fly KC-135s and other aircraft there. And so that's what I wanted, but what I got was that big circuitous thing. So he told me to maintain 3,500 feet and do that big roundabout. And then he calls out to me the Cherokee 321 Victor, traffic is a KC-135 at 10 o'clock, has you in sight. I thought, oh, that's why I have to stay 1,000 feet above the pattern. They want to protect this KC-135 from my wake turbulence. I get it. So, see? So, anyway, so I made it work, but it was a real conscious effort on my part to be sure I'm alert and awake and raring to go for this night landing when all I want to do is grab a beer and dinner and go to bed. So anyway, I have video on that, but I don't want to take the time. So, okay. So that was a beautiful sight after I landed and turned right. Duncan is a great FBO. If you're ever at Lincoln, check it out. So that's the pilot. The plan, know your plan. I remember when I was a student pilot, the aphorism was plan your flight and fly your plan and be ready to change it. Because weather happens, mechanical things happen, you happen. Right? So, but you have to have a plan and know what you're going to do. Think about contingencies and things like that. Yeah, include contingencies in case of weather issue, mechanical issue, or human issue, including bio needs. You know, sometimes you gotta get rid of the coffee. So. Actually, since we're talking about instruments, many of you know Gary Reeves, very well-known speaker, always about instrument stuff. He always flies IFR. He says, if I have to fly VFR, it's an emergency. He's funny. So what he advocates in terms of alternates, first of all, always have an alternate when you file IFR. And he advocates having not one, not two, but three. You can only file one with flight service and ATC, but he really wants you to have three, and other people talk about this to some extent also. One being, if you take off and it's terrible and you want to get back down now, basically a takeoff alternate, which could be where you came from, and is that going to be procedure turn back to the other runway, or is it going to have to go all the way around to the same runway, or is there a nearby airport where you can just, you can take off out of here and go, oh man, this is really bad, and you can go to Reno Stead or something like that. So take an alternate very early in the flight that you've already pre-planned and scoped it out, and you know what the approaches are, in case it's just terrible when you get up there and you really just want to get back down. At the far end is the usual alternate in case the destination is bad and you need someplace else to go, and you plan that carefully to be sure it's going to have different weather than the garbage that you're going to see potentially at your destination. But he also has, he advocates for a mid-flight alternate, because you don't have to wait till you get to the destination. If the weather already goes to heck, and it's down to half a mile and they don't have a precision approach, there's no reason to go all the way there and then go, oops, I didn't make it in, now I have to go to my alternate. You know that in advance because you can get the weather from anywhere, right, with all our electronics these days. So you might discover that you might decide it's not even worth going to destination because it's already down. So you want to have that scoped out in advance. It's a really good idea. Okay, so that's the plan. The plane, mighty Cessna 150. Around here, you got a lot of Cirruses, I understand. Amazing airplanes. So especially with something like a Cirrus, where so much is built in, you know, I can't remember the avionics package. Epic? No. What's it called? Sorry?
G1000. It's the Garmin Perspective.
Perspective. Thank you. Yeah. Right. Anyway, you know, a lot of this stuff is part of the airplane. And so the airplane is no longer just an engine, you know, and wings, right? It's got all this stuff in it. So you want to be sure that's all up to snuff and the databases are current. You know how to use it and things like that. And I would add that it also includes your tablet. A lot of us have a little, right, ForeFlight or something like that on a tablet or a cell phone. The cell phone itself, your advanced headset, AHRS device like a Stratus and things like that. You got Bluetooth, you got Wi-Fi, you got all kinds of things going on. So all of a sudden the airplane has become this, you know, you're a system manager. Not just, right, you're a pilot, but you're also a systems manager. So the passengers, right? Yeah.
Quick question. Don't you dare turn on your radios.
Whoop, can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Advanced headset. Don't you dare turn on AC.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Oh, you noticed. Yeah. So if you've never seen my power loss at 300 feet presentation, is that the one I did 2 years ago? Or I do something else? I don't know. Anyway, it's online, and I encourage you to watch it. But the answer is because you want to know what your engine is doing, in my opinion. I didn't know in my power loss at 300 feet video, I didn't know what the engine was doing. And we're 300 feet over the city of Vancouver. We might as well be over the city of Reno. And I lost all engine oil, all of it. The signs were there early, but I couldn't hear them because I had the headset noise canceling on. So my suggestion is leave it on passive so at least you're in touch as much as you can with the engine. And when you get to a safe altitude, so that if the engine does something funny and you don't quite catch the subtle signs, you have options. So out of here, it might be 1,500 feet above takeoff. Turn the thing on, you'll still get your $1,000 worth. But I want you to be in touch with the engine until you're at that safe altitude. Just a suggestion. Thank you for asking. Okay, so passengers. If you want to know how to handle passengers, watch the movie Airplane again. We're a tad off course. How far is a tad? I think this is from Airplane 2. Oh, it's about 400 billion miles. Oh, okay. Oh, and by the way, we're all out of coffee. Pandemonium erupts in the cockpit, in the airplane. Anyway, it's a funny scene. Okay, passengers. I would love for us to commit to taking this seriously, especially if it's not another pilot, somebody that's unfamiliar with aviation. Even our doors are weird compared to car doors, right? Our seat belts are different. Everything is different about the airplane than what they're used to, which is a car. Brief thoroughly, explain to them, if there's turbulence, it's just like, that's just what happens. It's like driving on a rough road. It's okay, I'll handle it. The possible need to land short of destination. If this happens, if this happens, if this happens, we might have to divert and land short of our destination. I always encourage them to use the facilities before getting in the airplane because I don't want to hear, when are we going to get there? I got to go potty. And, because remember, coffee in, coffee out. If your passenger is someone who can help with piloting tasks, make sure you parse that out. So you know what they're doing. They know what to do. They know how to support you. They don't just go dialing things and touching things without arranging that in advance. Scanning for traffic, things like that. Any special needs? Do they have to limit altitude exposure because of medical issues? Do they get airsick? Things like that. So be careful with your passenger briefing and care and feeding. Let's see. Yeah, non-pilots don't understand the level of risk, and I insist that flying is or will be or should be safer than driving, and if we make a mistake, it's usually pretty serious. I've had several car accidents. One of them gave me a stroke, which is why I have this cochlear implant, because it made me deaf on this side. And my back is mixed up. But if I had had an airplane accident as bad as the car accident, we probably wouldn't be talking. So, right, aviation is not very forgiving. So we need to understand that and be honest and truthful with them about that. But somehow do that without scaring them. Okay, so that's passengers, and then programming, it's kind of all the electronics we talked about already. And so that's the 5 Ps. So again, the order doesn't matter. Just keep track of these things while you're flying and maybe go through them like at the beginning of the flight, the midpoint, and before your final approach fix or entering the pattern. Make sure everything's set up the way you want it. Does that make sense? Okay. So the 6 T's. Okay, so I kind of did, in preparation for this, I had some spare time. It doesn't happen very often. Really, I just needed an excuse to fly my plane. So I jumped in and flew. Dave, I'm going to need that other little video if you got a second. The VOR runway 17 approach at Corvallis, Oregon. If you want to write that down or take a picture of that. And it's not great flying. I'm not real proficient on instruments in my plane. It's not equipped for it. When I practice instruments, I use Redbird, or I go out in a fully equipped airplane. So you won't be impressed by the flying, but I do want to show how often I'd use the 6 T's, for example, just to give you an idea of where you might use it. And then I use the 6 C's when I get to the missed approach. So you'll just see it used over and over again. When I was trained by my instrument instructor, he taught me about at the time, the 5 T's, but I added one. And then I had a student add another one. So there's 7. But my instructor had taught me that this is what you do at the final approach fix. And once I started teaching, especially teaching instruments, I thought, why do you have to wait for the final approach fix? You can do this all day long. It applies to almost everything in an instrument flight. So go ahead and launch that. Yeah, right about there.
This is cross track, so I can verify over here on the HSI, doing the right thing.
So you can go
All right, so my inbound course will be 177.
So if you watch the, if you go to that URL, that's a little playlist in YouTube, part 1 and part 2. Basically, part 1 is me getting onto the DME arc and doing the VOR approach, and I'm almost to the missed approach point, and then you got to go over to video number 2, where I get to the missed approach point, and then I do the 6 C's. So we're going to talk about those in a second. I just wanted you to have a glimpse of that. So if you go to that link, that's what you'll find there. Okay, we can go back to the PowerPoint. Thank you.
Let's go ahead and bug that for 17.
So how many of you sort of regularly or semi-regularly use something like the 5 T's or 6 T's or something like that? Yeah, as a regular part of your instrument flying. Great. So let's see if you may have a different order. Whatever works for you in terms of what the T stands for and what you do first, second, third. If it works for you, great. This is just an alternative in case you decide that you like this particular order. So we're good. Thanks, David. So the 6 T's are these in some order. And going back to my instrument instructor, John Lannon, 1,000 years ago, this would have been in 1982. Woo! He told me about you need to do all these things at the final approach fix. Again, that's how he taught it. And then he let me decide which one comes first, second, third, along with discussion, like which one of these should you do first. And we'd look at an instrument approach plate, and there'd be a kink at the final approach fix, so you have to turn. It's always a point where you're going to start a descent or join a glide slope, things like that. So like, what do you want to do first? And so like, what do you do? And your 5 T's or 6 T's, however many T's you do, what's your first one normally? Turn? Like, which of the T's do you do first? Turn, okay. It's unanimous. So I sort of came up with the same thing with John's, coaching. It's like, well, you're gonna have to descend at some point, because that's the whole point of an approach, is to get you to the airport. It's like, ooh, but I don't want to descend if I haven't turned, and I need to be on the solid course guidance for the final approach course. If I'm still flying that course leading to the final approach fix without the turn, then I'm descending into something that I may not want to see or hit. So I kind of have to turn first. He's like, great, that's number 1. So we're all in agreement on that. And before GPS, there were many more timed approaches than there are now. VOR approaches, localizer, the mighty ADF. Anybody remember ADF approaches? They were kind of fun, yeah. So the purpose of timing, what does the time do for you on an approach? If you start timing at the final approach fix, what's the point? Why do you do that?
Check on missed approach.
Yeah, so you know where the missed approach is, right? That's the only way you know where the missed approach is, in those approaches, right? Plus or minus GPS nowadays and things like that. But that's the only thing that'll tell you when you're about to hit something at the other end of the final approach course, right? So you got to get that time started very soon. Turning is still first, then immediately start the time. Turning takes a few seconds because you're doing it right. It takes time for an airplane to turn. Timing is instantaneous. You either read the second hand on, it used to be a sweep second hand, or nowadays you just push a little button, it starts a timer. So it doesn't take long to start a timer, but you got to do it in a timely manner, so to speak. So, and then again, the point of an instrument approach is to get you down to and on course to an airport. So you got to start descending, which is where T for throttle comes in. So we've got turn first, start your timer if it's a timed approach, and do something with the throttle. In other words, you're about to change altitude, babysit your throttle, mixture, whatever you need to do, everything that has to do with speed and up and down, throttle and related devices, carb heat, things like that. So now you're at least pointed in the right direction. You've kicked off the time, which will help you identify the missed approach point in 4, 5, 6 minutes, and you're starting your descent. So you're set up very, very well very, very soon after passing the final approach fix. But now that you've turned, let's say typically on a VOR approach, you don't have course guidance yet because the VOR was getting you to the VOR. Now you have to turn to a new course for the final approach fix. So you got to twist that OBS so that you can now track the final approach course. Turning is one thing. Now you actually have to have the needle centered. So again, this is all very general because with GPS, a lot of this stuff happens on its own, but you have to make sure it happens. right? Your job is you're still a systems manager. You have to make sure that the magenta line's doing the right thing and your OBS is doing the right thing, your CDI. So turn time throttle twist is to make sure you have course guidance for the final approach course. So all of that is aviate and navigate, right? So turn is aviate, time is sort of a navigate, throttle is aviate, twist is navigate. So it's like aviate, navigate. You finally have time to do what? Right? Call the tower or do whatever you're supposed to do, switch to CTAF, right? So now it's time to talk. So you're doing the aviate, navigate things first, and then you get to the communicate part of it. So turn, time, throttle, twist, talk, I think is a very logical order. And then what John did as a sixth T is to say, yeah, you've done all these things. You've turned, and you started your timer, and now you've throttled back, and you talk, you've done all this stuff. Now you have to remember to track. And believe me, I've had instrument students that go through all this stuff, and they're pointing in the, sort of the right direction, but they're parallel to the course. It's like, well, you got to do, like, it's telling you something. So, right? So now you got to track. So I tend to favor turn, time, throttle, twist, talk, track. And you'll see that up here in a second. So as an example, let's see, where are we here? VOR, DME, Bravo, and McMinnville. So let's see, what do we got? There's the little bitty airport. And this is a pretty long VOR approach with DME fixes, which GPS can substitute, of course. And you get to the airport and you're still, God knows, 15 miles to the VOR. So it's kind of a sloppy approach, which is now defunct, by the way, because Newburgh VOR is getting canceled for the minimum operation network. So this approach went away, but it's useful for instruction. So let's say you're, where are we? All right, let me move on to it. There it is. Birdie, yeah, so you're turned inbound. There's no time in this particular case because everything is based on DME fixes. So what I would advocate is that you always at least say the word time and then say not applicable to this particular approach. In other words, don't go turn throttle because someday you'll be on a timed approach and you'll forget the word time. So when you watch my video, you'll see it's because it's a DME-based VOR approach, VOR DME. And I go turn, okay, I like what my heading is. Time, none required. Throttle, okay, I've got my throttle for 90 knots and things like that. Okay, so here's a better one because it's got a turn. So this is at somewhere. Oh, this is up at, so Troutdale for us, east of Portland. And here's a kink. So you're 008 degrees until the final approach fix, and then you got an 11 degree turn toward the airport. So here you are buzzing along at 2,100 feet, tracking 008, and you hit wood, and the first thing you want to do is turn towards heading of 019. Time, I would say the word time and then say none required. Throttle, because from wood you've been maintaining 2,100 feet, now you get to go down to 1180 and eventually down to the minimum descent altitude. So turn time, throttle, twist. There's nothing to twist. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a GPS approach. There's nothing to twist, but I'm going to double check that my navigator is doing the right thing. I think I'm past wood. I want to make sure it tells me the same thing and that it's telling me 019, right? You're not actually twisting, but you're double checking that it twisted itself to the correct indication. And now it's time to talk. Typically, approach is going to hand you off, and either before or after the final approach fix. So you'll get to talk, and then you want to track that 019 and work your way down to the minimum descent altitude. Let's see. Same thing. Okay, and this is where we at. Pearson, So here's a timed approach. This one's gone too. This went away. It's become a GPS approach. But it's got the good old time situation here where the missed approach point was at trail intersection, wherever that is on the chart. I can't see it from here. And so at let's say 90 knots ground speed, you'd be timing for 3 minutes and 52 seconds. And if you don't see the airport, you're gone, right? Then you get to go to the 6 C's for the missed approach. So that jumble of words becomes this: turn, time, throttle, twist, talk, track. And again, I advocate doing that. I did a demo once for my student that I was having trouble getting him to do it. So I said, let's switch seats. In the simulator. Let's just see what I do. And if you like it, then you can do the same thing. I did it like 13 times in a very short flight, basically from Twin Oaks, where I'm based, over to ILS approach into McMinnville. So it's like taking off from here into ILS into Stead or something like that. And 13 times, because I just do it to keep on track. I don't wait for an event or a final approach fix. I always want to know that I'm turned correctly. Is there anything I'm supposed to time? Is there anything I should be prepared to time? Is my throttle setting okay, including mixture, everything to do with power, and so on. So what's going on? Turn, time, throttle, twist, talk, track. Okay, here is a rather extreme turn. So here we're going from 353 to 323. This is a 30-degree turn. So if your particular 5Ts or 6Ts, if your turn is further down the line, you're going to be flying in this direction longer than you want to, and you're going to be looking at towers and hillsides and things like that. So I'm with the folks that said that turn is number one. So this is at SBS. Where is that? Steamboat Springs, is that right? I think. Anyway. Okay. Winslow. So in my article, I talk about standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona. What song is that from? Huh? Get back to where standing on a corner in Winslow, Arizona. Yeah. So anyway, the interesting thing about this approach, it's not that much of a turn. It is 098 over to 106. It's only an 8-degree turn. But that leg from where it starts, where the 106 starts, is only 3 point, whatever that says, 3.8? What the hell does that say? Yeah, if I can't see it, you can't see it. It's only 3.8 miles long. And the interesting thing about this approach is that there's a highway. Here's the runway that you're trying to get to from this VOR. But if you're just a little bit late and you're punching out of really cruddy weather, low ceilings and smoke and fog and everything else, and you punch out of there and you see kind of a straight piece of pavement with lights, you might think that's the runway. So even a small turn is worth really paying attention to, and then make sure you get that twist in there, and then make sure you track. So very, very critical to get all these things done. Okay, enough of that. Throttle. Okay, so turn, time, throttle. Let's see. Throttle is a cluster. Throttle back to your descent heading, carb heat, prop forward if you got those things, lower the nose and things like that. In some airplane, depending on your procedure, you might drop the gear, you might put partial flaps in, and things like that. Okay, so twist. So after turn, time, throttle, we got twist. So we need to get that, that OBS dialed, or we need to verify that the GPS did that for us. And let's see. Okay, we did that enough. And talk. Congratulations, you're all set up. Now tell somebody about it. So, so then you get a chance to talk. And as I said, it lines up with Aviate, Navigate, Communicate really well. Okay, and then track. All right, so it's, I suggest that it's worth verbalizing all of them. Never skip one. Turn, okay, I don't need to turn. Time, I don't need to time. Throttle, yeah, I better start adjusting my throttle and slowing down because, you know, I want to slow down from cruise speed to approach speed or something like that. So, okay. Questions, comments before we go to the C's?
I don't mean to take the wind out of your sails.
Not at all.
My instrument instructor was a tremendous, commended Air Force pilot.
Good.
Used to fly F-4s. And he told me the first thing he wanted me to do was twist.
Huh.
He wanted me to set that heading bug on the course.
Interesting.
Yep. So that you know your course.
Okay.
Twist first.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was his theory. That way,
Got it.
and he always said, you know, your course is 120, set that heading bug to 120 first.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
okay.
that way it's a reminder
Yeah.
in front of you. That's the course you should be flying.
Very interesting. I can imagine an F4 that's more important than in a 90 knot 172.
Yeah,
but it's still, I totally understand the concept is you want to get the course ahead of you and then turn to it and so on.
Exactly.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. That's very good. Sir,
So I have a bit of a weird one.
let me get close so they can hear you on Zoom.
So
I fly a Cirrus.
Good.
It is an extremely slick airplane,
It is.
and I've found in my doing this that throttling back is literally the first thing I need to do. Otherwise, I'll be at the missed approach point and I'm still 110.
Woo.
And so the turn and the throttle back to 15 manifold pressure seems to be the thing to do with the Cirrus.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, by the time you turn, time, you're like 120 knots and you throttle back and you're still 120 knots going downhill.
Yeah.
So,
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, thank you for sharing, both of you. So, as I sort of said, your mileage may vary, and if you have a different order that works for you, what's important is you get everything done and you get, you know, lined up and safe. So, great. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Good. Very good. Okay. And then I had a student add one to that. He said, he told me that he always tries to do this as the 7th tee. Once everything is organized with regard to the 6 tees, think about what's next, especially if you're on the final approach, past the final approach fix. What's next is you're either going to see the runway and land, or you need to be primed for that missed approach. Because when it's time to go missed, you need to go missed and be crisp about it. So if you want, you can add number 7. Okay, there's that in case you missed it. That's the same thing as before. Missed approach. It sounds so simple. Why do we keep killing ourselves? As seriously an inordinate number of serious crashes that happen with go-arounds of both types, both instrument go-arounds, which is a missed approach, and go-arounds under VFR. So I'm hoping we can fix that. So, for example, in France, there was a Cirrus non-stabilized approach, loss of control during missed approach, collision with ground, and then fire. Failure, there's a Comanche in South Dakota in 2016, failure to execute the missed approach, leads to accident. You know this one. The TBM failed missed approach procedure of some kind. I don't remember the details, but sadly that was right here. So missed approaches need to be thoroughly briefed, and I like this last sentence about them being really, really crisp and procedural. You don't have time to figure out what you need to do. That's all got to be primed and ready, in my opinion, so you can just act on it. So, without going through all the juggling all the words, this is one possible sequence, And I think it works pretty well, but if you have a different one, that's great. Cram, climb, clean, click, cool, call. Whew. Wouldn't it be nice if they were alphabetical or something? So it should never be a surprise. It should never be thought of as a failure. Neither should a go-around under VFR. It's just a normal part of flying. And let's see. Yeah, so that's, I guess I didn't really parse that out, but so when it's time to do a miss, so you're either at decision altitude and you're deciding there's no runway, or you're at the missed approach point on an MDA, or you're far enough past the visual descent point that it's like, yeah, I see the runway, but I'm not in position for a normal approach, or I don't see one of the 10 items and things like that. So it's like, well, what do you do? First thing you need to do is get away from the ground, right? So that takes power, and that takes a pitch attitude that you need to know in advance. Because if you let the airplane do its thing, it's likely to go way up here, especially if you've got flaps down. So you need to be in control of that and know exactly what pitch attitude you want to put the airplane in. So that's cram and climb. And a lot of times that takes forward pressure, which is a weird thing for pilots to do. We don't like to push as much as we like to pull. So make sure you know what that is in the airplane you're flying. And then clean, once you have the right parameters, you have enough airspeed, positive rate of climb, things like that. Typically that's time to start retracting flaps, bring the gear up, put the speed brakes away, things like that. And then click, nowadays the GPS navigators, the 650 says, what is it, activate missed approach? Or whatever the other choice is, which is don't activate missed approach. G1000, all it does is the little SUSP lights up, and you have to click it to unsuspend. So the click just means kick your GPS into action and tell it you're doing the missed approach. Otherwise, it thinks you're landing. So cram and climb gets you away from the ground. Clean helps you get away from the ground. Click so you have course guidance. Cool if it's cow flaps or something like that, or put carb heat in if you forgot during the full throttle. And all that's aviate, navigate stuff. And then once you have the airplane thoroughly under control, it's time to call your missed approach. Tell the tower or tell approach that you're on the missed. Comments on that or questions? Does this work for you?
It might be, again, a little different in the Cirrus.
Uh-huh.
Just might be click and cram at the same time as you're hitting the toga button. And
Oh, if you got a toga button. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Okay.
other than that, it's
Great. Click it. So just repeat it for the folks. Cram and say it again.
cram and click at the same time. It's
Cram and click because you got a button. You're cheaters.
It's on the throttle.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're a bunch of cheaters.
Cheat.
That's right. I like it. Cheat. Always cheat. I like it. Never do math in the cockpit and always cheat. I love it. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I don't know Cirruses at all, so thank you for sharing that, both of you. Pardon? Okay. All right, that's great. All right, climb, clean, click, cool, call. All right, so we did that already. Okay, so recap. Plane, in any order, plane, plan, pilot, programming, and passengers, turn, time, throttle, twist, talk, track, and cram, climb, clean, click, cool, call. There's that thing again to the little playlist. This doesn't matter anymore, but these are my 10 presentations at Oshkosh this year. And I was pretty tired by the end of the week, but it was a good time. So this, let's see, somebody do that QR code and tell me what it is, because I forget. I wanted you to go there for some reason. It might be for these PDFs. I can't remember. Would have been smart if I'd labeled it, huh? Where does that take you?
He just sent $20 to you.
So,
That's the slide.
huh? What? Oh, it's these slides? Oh, there you go. There's your slides. So the PDF of the slides. But I think David's sending that anyway. I think that's it, right? Yeah, so I can leave that up. Yeah, so that's all I got, David. And people, any comments, questions, anything else? I love how we learn from each other. I love your feedback.
Well, let's get a round of applause for Phil.
Hey, thank you.
Phil, before you get out of here, I want
Whoa.
to thank you with your very own Fly Safe sweater.
Nice. I
You don't
like it.
have to
That's
go to
beautiful.
raffle.
I got it.
It's gonna look real nice in that.
Great.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Phil.
Yeah, great.
So,
Appreciate it.
Phil's gonna stick around a little bit longer.
Yeah.
We got him held captive overnight, actually, because he's gonna be here for Rusty Pilots tomorrow. So, if you wanted to come ask him anything, he'll still be around for a little bit this evening. Just a little bit more pizzas left. Get your dirty plates in the dirty dishes bin. Make sure you're on the sign-in sheet, and I think that's about it. We'll see you all next month.
Okay. Thank you. Wow, you're getting me ready for winter here with a sweatshirt.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna be on the. How are you doing? Yeah.
Down to flight 1? Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right.
I'm just starting my school. Okay. I found 5
Is that right? Yeah. You did the crime and killing? Yeah. It's like Mexico. I remember the punctuation.
Great, I love this report. You know, it's on Tahoe Airport.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Some of our controllers here, they do like pop-up shower every now and then.
I've never seen a pop-up tower.
No, maybe that's what it's from.
Or they can put a remote tower.
Alright. Yeah, he was looking into that airport.
Yeah, it's a nice airport. This is your folks' new super airport. That's why I seriously just throw up the tail.
Yeah, we just go from
Is that the same as like an iPad with work-light tail numbers?
I used the G6. I just started flying the G7. G6, you can put every tail number on the scope. So if you hear, don't screen tail number, right behind you, down
Get out of your way, start moving.
All right, well, nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. We'll see you around. Yeah. We'll see you on that clinic.
Thank you. It was very nice. Good to see you. Good to see us again. First, hey, Jamil. If I say your name right. First Okay.
Thanks everybody on Zoom. We'll see you guys next time.